All right, let's dive into what might be the single most shocking, most damning statement ever made about the American legal profession. Seriously, it's a claim so explosive that has been echoing through courtrooms and law schools for decades. So let's just get right to it and look at the words that started it all.
There it is. Just let that sink in for a second. 75% to 90% incompetent, dishonest, or both. I mean, that is just a breathtaking accusation. It's the kind of thing that makes you immediately go, wait, who? Who on earth would have the authority or the nerve to say something like that?
And you know, that really is the most important question here. Because, look, if this was just some angry client or a random critic, you could probably just brush it off, right? But it wasn't. And the source is exactly what gives this quote its incredible, lasting power.
The person who said this was Warren E. Burger. And no, he was not some outsider looking in. He was one of the most powerful people inside the American legal system. And when I say powerful, I mean it. We're talking about the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, the top judicial officer in the entire country. And get this, he didn't say this in some private letter. He delivered this bombshell in a public speech back in 1977. So when the guy in charge of the whole system sounds an alarm bell this loud from the very top, well, that carries a ton of weight.
Okay, so we know who said it. Now let's really unpack what he said. He didn't just call lawyers bad. The language he used is incredibly specific. It's a devastating, two-pronged attack. Let's break down those two parts. So Burger comes at this from two totally different angles. On one side, you've got incompetent. That's the lawyer who just doesn't have the skills or the knowledge to do the job properly, a failure of ability. But on the other side, you've got dishonest, and that's about character. That's the lawyer who knows what's right but chooses to lie or cheat anyway. That's a failure of morals.
And then, as if that wasn't enough, he adds this brutal little finisher. Or both. This is the part that takes it to another level. He's saying a lawyer could be not only bad at their job, but also a morally corrupt person. He's covering all the bases here: a failure of skill, a failure of ethics, or a catastrophic mix of the two.
Now, beyond the insult itself, the other part of this that is just so stunning is the sheer scale of the problem as he saw it. This wasn't him saying there are a few bad apples out there. This was an indictment of the entire orchard.
He starts the range at 75%. That's 3 out of every 4 trial lawyers. Just try to picture that. In any given courtroom, based on his low estimate, 3 of the 4 lawyers you see are failing on either competence or honesty. But he doesn't stop there, does he? He pushes that number all the way up to 90%. That's 9 out of 10. I mean, that suggests a system that doesn't just have a problem, it suggests a system that is fundamentally defined by that problem. An absolutely overwhelming majority.
So if we just split the difference and average out his claim, this is the picture we get. That huge bar on the left shows the vast majority he's talking about, which means you're left with this tiny sliver, less than 20%, who are, in his view, both competent and honest. It paints a pretty grim picture of a profession in a deep, deep crisis.
So, we've looked at who said it, we've broken down exactly what he accused them of, and we've tried to grasp the staggering numbers he used. Let's put it all back together one last time and think about what it all really means.
Reading it again now, that sentence just feels even heavier, doesn't it? Every single part of it is intentional. The massive percentage, the double-barreled accusation of incompetence and dishonesty, and that final crushing or both. And all of it delivered by the highest judge in the land. It's just an absolutely stunning indictment.
And that really leaves us with this big, lingering question. Remember, this wasn't an outsider throwing stones. This was an alarm being sounded from the absolute center of the system. So what does it mean for the idea of justice itself when a system's own leaders declare that the vast majority of its people are fundamentally unfit for the job? It's a tough question, and one that's definitely worth thinking about.